This is LSAT PrepTest 133, Section 4, Passage 4. It's a comparative or dual passage set about objectivity in historical scholarship, medium difficulty set. The problem here is that these passages look like they're on opposite sides of a debate, but they're actually much closer than a fast read would suggest. And both of them ask the same question. What does it mean for a historian to be objective? Passage A gives you the traditional answer. Passage B complicates it. Now, passage A is the setup. You want to read at a normal speed here. It lays out the classic ideal of objectivity in 3 layers. First, facts are real and independent of interpretation. If your interpretation doesn't match the facts, you got to throw out the interpretation, not the facts. Second, just because different generations read events differently, that doesn't mean the events themselves have no fixed meaning. And third, the historian should be like a judge. They should be neutral, they should be balanced, and insulated from political pressure. Their loyalty should be to the truth and to other scholars who are also pursuing truth. And the analogy of being like a judge matters here, because passage B rejects that image of the historian. So passage B, you want to slow down, opens with something that sounds like agreement. They're saying historical scholarship has to be different from propaganda. Historians need self-discipline. They've got to abandon wishful thinking. They've got to throw out interpretations that fail basic tests of evidence. And so far, passage A will go along with all that. But then comes the most important sentence in the whole set. Objectivity should not be confused with neutrality. That is the core of the entire passage set. Everything after flows from that one distinction. Passage B says, objectivity is perfectly compatible with strong political commitment. The objective thinker doesn't value detachment for its own sake. They use it as a tool to understand more deeply. So where passage A says the historian should stay above the fight, passage B says no, get into the fight, but fight honestly. And then passage B describes what that looks like in practice. The ideal shows up in what it calls the powerful argument. That's an argument where you can tell the author genuinely engaged with the other side. The real opposing view, stated as carefully and as fairly as the opponent would state it themselves. Passage B actually says you've got to inhabit the rival position before you can attack it. You've got to live inside it first. And so that word inhabit's doing a lot of work there. It's telling you passage B isn't asking for surface level fairness. They're asking for deep engagement, totally different from what passage A is describing. Passage A wants you to keep some distance. Passage B wants you to engage in temporary closeness so that when you do take a side, your argument's going to be stronger for having honestly confronted what's against it. Then the ending of passage B says authentic objectivity has nothing in common with a TV newscaster who just splits time equally between 2 sides. So that mechanical balance, giving each side the exact same number of seconds, is a performance of objectivity, not the actual thing. Now, the key move here is that split between objectivity and neutrality in passage B. You got to keep that distinction in mind. Passage A treats neutrality as the heart of objectivity. Passage B says neutrality is actually the real enemy of objectivity because it leads to a fake mechanical balance instead of genuine engagement. Now, students will read these 2 passages and think passage B is anti-objectivity, but it's not. They love objectivity, but they define it differently. B rejects the neutrality part of passage A, not the commitment to truth itself. So the real relationship is actually that passage B would say passage A has the right goal, but the wrong method. Staying neutral doesn't get you to truth. Making the strongest possible argument does. Now, before you get to the questions, you want to make sure you're clear on 3 things. First, can you define what passage B means by a powerful argument without just saying it's a good argument? Second, would the author of passage B agree with passage A's comparison of the historian to a judge? And third, what exactly does the TV newscaster example at the end of passage B represent, and why does passage B reject it?